for this part of our series, we shift the focus to Mexico, a middle power that is uniquely close to the United States. Ryan, Mexico is sometimes called the pivotal state, part of the global north and part of the global south. Where did this idea come from, and how has it evolved?
Well, I think the idea comes from the simple geographic fact that Mexico is both a Latin American country and also part of North America. And it likes to be able to straddle those two realities. So it is still very much a developing state, which, and culturally, linguistically, historically, puts it firmly in Latin America. But geographically and in terms of where it's hitched its wagons, very much a North American country. Which frankly I think recognizes, if you're in Mexico's shoes, the fact that you don't really have another game other than kind of hitching your wagons to the United States, given 83% of your exports go to the United States.
You know, in my ignorance, I've often thought of Mexico as a producer of agricultural goods, because when I go to the supermarket, I see Mexican tomatoes and avocados and so on. And I'm shocked to see that so much of Mexican exports to the United States are actually manufactured goods. How has that explosion in trade, especially in manufactured goods, affected the bilateral relationship with the United States?
Well, almost $1 million worth of goods basically crosses the border every minute between the United States and Mexico. So it's a tremendous amount of trade. We have not only given Mexico the opportunity to develop by bringing it into the North American relationship, but I would argue that over the years, anti-Americanism, although it is still existent in Mexico, has been reduced dramatically as the two countries have grown closer on the economic level.
Mexico's closeness to the United States must give it a completely unique view of great power competition. What is their view of great power competition?
I think you have to look at the previous government in Mexico and say that it has changed with the present government in Mexico. So the previous president, Andrés Manuel López Obrador, I would argue had a much more kind of equidistant approach, similar to the way Brazil thinks about finding equidistance between Washington and Beijing. And I think the current president, Claudia Sheinbaum, has understood that Mexico's future is with North America. When you have 83% of your exports oriented around exporting to one market, many of them manufactured goods, as you said, for the U.S. market. The U.S. and to a lesser extent Canada are kind of the only games in town. And you can diversify around the edges and you can open up trade agreements to find other markets. But for the most part, Mexico is going to remain very, very much dependent on the United States.